I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I was going to say on this dark and stormy night, but this is actually one of the nicest early Decembers I've seen in many, many years. But it's good to see you taking the time to come out because this is important stuff. As many of you may know, my name is C. Davis, and I will be moderating tonight's event. This is the first gubernatorial forum of the season. And this is what I was going to say, and then I thought about it for a moment, and I realized this is actually the second gubernatorial forum of the season. The first one was at our picnic in August, where we had all four of the gubernatorial candidates represented. So what's interesting about that is Thurston County, this bastion of liberal nonsense, is leading the way in introducing conservative candidates. We're way ahead of the curve. I want to mention John O'Callahan. We had discussed this for a long time, and he's the one who said we should have an activism committee, and he appointed me chair. And the committee is everywhere from 4 to 8 people. Alexis works harder than anybody on it. Daryl back there has been on the committee for a while. We have a couple people who weren't able to come, but it ranges from 4 to 8 people. We need more people. This is not an easy job. If we want to turn Thurston County into a sane, logical, reasonable place that respects our Constitution and our rights, we need to really get involved. Now we can do it, but it takes a lot. What this activism committee is focusing on is developing a groundswell of conservative people who will be silent no more. And we're working very hard to take this back. We organize forums, informational events. We did a presentation on R88 recently. We are doing this forum. We have several more forums planned for next year. One of them is going to be a free market environmentalist forum, some more candidate forums, and we're also looking into doing some rallies. So if you're interested in getting involved, if you really want to make a change, it's going to take all of us. We have some sign-up sheets over there. Please sign up so we can get a hold of you, let you know what's going on, and if you have a special interest, if you like to make flyers, if you like to promote stuff, anything, we need everything, because like I said, we're a small group. So, what I'd like to do now is get started with tonight's activities. And want to point out that historically, in the state of Washington, there have only been 2 governors that have served 3 terms. Arthur Langley and Dan Evans. Both of them were Republicans. That's less important than the fact that Washingtonians seem to think 8 years is enough. And I think they're right. Well, we've had 8 years of Governor Inslee, and I think we've all had enough. So there's a very good chance that of the candidates running for governor in this room, one of them will very likely be the next governor. I want to tell you what tonight's format's going to be. Each candidate will have 7 minutes to speak, followed by 3 minutes of Q&A. The candidate themselves will choose the questioners that they all have 3 minutes. If there's room at the end, time at the end, then you can always mingle with them and ask them more detailed questions. We're going to try to keep this absolutely fair. Candidates will speak in alphabetical order by their first name, because that's how my spreadsheet does it. So that's how we do it. And to get right onto it, our first speaker is a businessman from Seattle, Anton Sakharov.
Thank you. My name is Anton Sakharov, and I'm running for governor. I wanted to start off with a quote that you might have heard many, many times before, but I think it's very important to read it again, from Ronald Reagan. Freedom is never more than 1 generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. And I say that generation is now. And that's the reason why I'm running. Because I see 2 things happening in our state. First, I see socialism creeping in. And a lot of people say, well, you can't, it's not going to happen. I have seen it personally because I escaped socialism in Soviet Union. And although you might think it will never happen, the things that are happening today will lead to socialism, not in 3 years, but maybe in 20 years. But once it gets on the path towards that, there's no way to stop it. And I just couldn't sit and watch that happening. I said, I got to do something. So I'm fighting to protect our state from socialism, because socialism will bring destruction. And number two, I think 2020 is a chance of a lifetime to flip our state red. It happened in '84, it can happen again. But the only way to do it is to make sure that you guys, not only vote, we know you guys are all going to vote. What we want is you guys all to get out and get everybody else to get to vote red in our state. That's the only way we can flip our state red in 2020 and support our president. So I ask all of you to get involved, get excited, because it can absolutely happen in 2020. And we can't pass that by. Now, I see the governor of our state as a manager, a person who needs to make sure that our trains are running on time. That requires leadership. That's what I've been doing all my life. I've been leading projects, programs, teams, budgets. That's who we need. We don't need a politician. We need somebody who gets things done, who can lead the state in the right direction. That is why part of my program is 3 things: taxes, infrastructure, and safety. On taxes, very straightforward. My promise to everyone, there will be no state income tax. I also want to make sure we cut death and estate recovery taxes in our state. We can't allow a carbon tax to happen. We can't have sugar tax, because that will all lead on to programs being dependent, and we are going to be running out of money. And guess what? We all end up paying more and more every time. So I want to make sure that I'll use my finance degree to find the money that our state needs without raising taxes, by bringing new business in our state, by thinking outside of the box, to bring in new business that will increase our revenue by keeping your taxes low. On infrastructure, I don't know how you're doing here with traffic, but King County is horrible. In fact, it took me about 3.5 hours to get here from King County. And that's unacceptable. And the reason why we have this is because no new roads are being built. Instead, we have pain lanes that most of us can't afford. And I say we need to build new roads, new bridges. We need to rebuild our infrastructure that's currently graded at C-. And that's a grade that our current governor got us to. So I fully intend to work with federal government to revamp our infrastructure, to build new roads, to work with businesses to spread out of King County across the whole state, to make sure they come to less populated counties, to have businesses there so that folks don't have to keep moving to one and only county, because our state is bigger than that. Third, which is, I believe, is the most important, is safety. Safety is a huge topic for every one of us. But I want to make sure that when I'm elected, I will end Sanctuary State. It's dangerous. It doesn't bring any benefit. It's not what it was originally intended to be used for. And I say enough. We have laws that we need to follow, and this country has been built on laws and constitution. We need to follow that. I want to protect the Second Amendment. I'm a lifetime NRA member. I'm a concealed carry. And I tried to purchase a weapon. I did purchase a weapon after the 1679 was passed. And I experienced it myself, what it means, what we have to go through. And that's why I have petitions here to reject 1639. We have to do it the right way. We have to collect about 300,000 signatures by December 28th. So if you haven't signed it, please make sure you do. If you have, don't sign it the second time. It's going to avoid the signature. I want to support our police officers. I don't think they get the respect they need. That is why I propose that any municipality and city that lets go a police officer for doing their job gets rehired by the state. That will send a clear message to everyone that the police officers are here to protect us and they need to be able to do their job, be able to do what they were hired for. We also have to tackle the homelessness issue. It's a huge issue. It's not going to be easily fixed, but it will encompass many programs within it, each one focusing on drug addiction, on crime, on helping out those who did lose their jobs and lost their housing, on mental health, and each agency that will be working on that goal ultimately needs to show that they're helping reducing the homelessness, because it's exploded to the limits that we can't accept. I can't accept it. In the best country, in the best state in the world, to have 20,000 or so folks on the streets. That's unacceptable. But it's not enough to just say, I'll try, right? What we need agencies that are dependent on getting a specific goal to reduce homelessness to 0. And that's what I intend to do when I'm elected. Is that 7?
Answer.
Okay, all right. Well, let's start with questions. Who has questions?
Well, I have one that I asked Phil Fortunato. You're going to have 1,500 positions that are at will that you can choose,
230 boards and
Yes.
committees.
Have you thought about how you're going to approach that? I hope you're not going to leave them in place.
Absolutely not.
And then you'll have to deal with the conspiracy from the
Yes.
next level down that won't like the old ones gone too.
My approach is simple. Each committee and board is intended to do a specific job. And the people who are on it need to be doing that job and not be politically affiliated. So we have, forestry is a great example, right? We need somebody who's actually solving the problem of forestry where we don't get all the fires that we're getting today because it's being mismanaged, right? And that's what I intend to do, is make sure that, that's what I've been doing all my career, is managing teams and people and finding the right teams and people who will actually do the right job.
Okay, so like you're coming in, you're going to leave the director of DOT in place, for example, the director of DSHS?
I didn't say that. I said
Okay. You'll look at everyone.
Absolutely.
You won't come in immediately and discharge them all? Or?
I can't answer that question.
Okay,
I don't think
that's
it's.
fine. I just want you thinking about it anyway.
I
'cause
hear
have all
you,
those
but I don't
people.
think it's easier if, you're all fired and then what? We still have to manage the state,
Yeah.
no matter what. But we need to manage the state and at the same time make sure that the people who are on the boards and committees are actually working for the whole state,
Yeah.
not just specific.
And the
state.
directors and all that, you have a
Yes.
whole cabinet there, a whole bunch of people, yeah.
Yes, yes. Questions? No questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So you say you're interested in working on the infrastructure and getting new roads. How would you, we just have this $30 cap
Right.
on them, and so this could reduce money for the transportation budget. How would you find the money to do that?
Remember, we have the second highest gas tax in the nation. There's plenty of money. They're just being spent in the wrong areas. What I intend to bring is accountability to our state, because we have state projects that are being, they go over schedule, over budget. And that's what I've been doing all my life, is making sure the projects run on time, the budget is on time. That's what we need. We need to reduce regulations so that smaller companies can come in and bid to those projects that are more efficient, that will spend less money. We need to remove regulations to make sure that businesses are not spending money on hiring lawyers to fight those regulations, but instead actually build our state. That's what I intend to do. I agree, $30 car tab. I support $30 car tab. And as you can see what's happening today with that lawsuit, it's just like the impeachment. When we are moving in the right direction, we get sued, and we got to fight back. And that's what I'm doing. I'm fighting back. I supported the $30 car tab. I think there's plenty of money that we have in our state. And again, I want to bring in new business here that will replenish the budget for the state to be spent on infrastructure.